Coming up in today's video, 2 budget airlines and 2 membership programs, Ryanair Prime and Wizzair's all-you-can-fly pass. Both promise to save you money, but are they actually worth it in 2025 into 2026? I'm personally planning travel to Eastern Europe next year, and these airlines pretty much dominate that low-cost market. So I thought I'd take a look at the facts, the fine print, and a few hidden catches that you should look out for. Let's start with Ryanair Prime, which costs £79 a year. And for that, you will get up to 12 free reserve seats for yourself, plus 12 free reserve seats for one named companion each year. You also get access to exclusive member-only seat sales every month and annual travel insurance included, which sounds pretty good on the surface. Next, Wizz Air's all-you-can-fly pass costs €499 or around £430 per year. And with this, it's not so much about the additional benefits, it's purely a fly as much as you want for that fixed price, which sounds fantastic, but we will come back to that shortly. So who does this potentially benefit? And after having looked at it a little deeper, there are only really 2 types of traveller that I feel could benefit. The first one being solo frequent flyers, where you're flying 8 to 12 times per year. And if you regularly hop between the UK and the rest of Europe, Ryanair's Prime seat savings could add up. If of course you like to pre-book seats. And if you do, after about 10 trips, you've covered that £79 fee. And that's before you add in flight discounts and travel insurance. For Wizz, you're only going to get value for money if you're flying 10 plus times a year. I personally couldn't find the overall average cost of return flight with Wizzair, so I created a few dummy bookings for myself, and it was around £70 with underseat bags only. It could also possibly benefit if you're travelling as a couple. Now, Prime gives you free seat selection to you and one companion, so that is beneficial for a couple who can reserve seats and sit together. However, we will also come back to this shortly. For Wizz Air, it's really only going to benefit spontaneous travellers or digital nomads. It really does suit people who can travel light and book at short notice. So what about the limitations and the fine print? Now, here's where these memberships can fall short if you don't read the details. With Ryanair Prime, your flights are only valid for your 12-month membership period, which essentially means if you join in June and want to book flights for July the year after, you actually can't. You have to do it within that 12-month window. In terms of the free seat selection, it only applies to selected rows, which Ryanair doesn't actually specify. Logically, you'd think it would be the cheapest and presumably not the exit rows. They also don't guarantee these rows, and you might be seated elsewhere in a randomly allocated seat, which completely defeats the object altogether. What is not clear is that the second person or your companion isn't free. You do need to pay an additional £79 to add your companion onto Ryanair Prime. So the total cost then becomes £158. So is it really beneficial for couples after all? It's also capped at 250,000 members. Considering how many people fly Ryanair, that isn't really an awful lot. And the insurance, which looks reasonable, covers cancellation, baggage and medical emergencies, but only for trips within the European Economic Area, the UK, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Switzerland, Israel, Jordan, Morocco and Tunisia, to name them all. That means you're not covered for flights to Turkey, and Ryanair do have a Stansted to Dalaman route, so you'll need separate insurance. There's also a 10% excess on a lot of the coverage. On top of that, if you look at the coverage in more detail, it is pretty basic. Again, which I guess you would expect. If we look at Wizz Air's all-you-can-fly, there is a lot of hidden detail in the small print here. Remember that £430 membership? Well, turns out it's not just the membership fee. You also have to pay a £9.99 fee per flight segment on top of the membership. So on 10 return flights a year, you're actually paying out an extra £200. So really, it's a £630 membership. On top of that, you can only book within 3 days of departure, which makes it hard to plan holidays or trips months in advance, making it completely inflexible. And here's where it gets a bit funny. If you fly out using the pass, you might not actually know when you're coming back, because with that 72-hour rule, if you want to go somewhere for a week, you'll only be able to book your return 4 days into your holiday, and you aren't going to know if there's a seat still available. Great if you don't care, not so good if you need to be back at work on Monday morning. And that's because Wizzair can limit how many seats are available to pass holders on each flight. So it's not truly unlimited in that respect. You've also got blackout periods which apply around Christmas, Easter and the summer rush, when availability can disappear completely, which I would suggest are the periods that most people would want to take advantage. If you miss a flight or don't show up, there's no refund and no way to rebook without paying again. So while Wizz Air's all-you-can-fly pass could be good for ultra-flexible travellers who travel constantly, it's completely impractical for anyone who likes to plan travel far in advance. Now here's where I think it could be made better. One of the biggest pain points for budget flyers are baggage fees. Budget airlines make a lot of money out of this, so I can see why neither Ryanair or Wizz Air have included it in their membership. So if you normally fly with suitcases, you'll still be paying those fees. With Wizz Air, the membership cost plus the additional payments for each flight segment would be made more palatable, I think, if a checked bag was included, or at very least a cabin bag. For Ryanair Prime, if they set the membership fee at something like £129 or £139 a year and included a checked or cabin bag instead of the insurance cover, I think I'd potentially go for that. So after digging through all of that fine print, here is the bottom line. If you fly Ryanair regularly, Prime could make sense. It's cheap, it's simple, and the seat benefit alone can pay for itself, especially if you are a solo traveller. If you're ultra flexible and fly Wizz Air often, the all-you-can-fly pass could work if you travel light and book late. But I would still question if you actually save anything significant versus just booking on an individual basis, given that extra £9.99 cost per flight. And neither includes baggage, and that is still, as I say, the biggest pain point for travellers. For my own travel plans next year, planned Eastern European city breaks booked in advance, Ryanair Prime makes the most sense. And I do see, in theory, I must add, where I could save some money. It's affordable, straightforward, and covers the routes I would actually want to fly. For Wizz Air, the inflexibility aside, I just can't see for such a big outlay how I would save any money. So what do you think? Do you fly Ryanair or Wizz more often, and would you pay for one of these memberships? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now here's something to think about before you go. Both of these membership programs only actually reward you if you fly. If you want to look at earning travel rewards without even stepping foot on a plane, you may want to look into Avios. If you're new to it or never even heard of it, check out the video on the screen here. Now, this is the first video in a series of 3, and in this video I explain exactly what Avios are and how they work. So thank you very much for watching. Do consider liking, do consider hyping and all that stuff if you've enjoyed the video, and also subscribing to the channel as well. With that, I'll leave it with you. Thank you very much indeed, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.